One man, one vision, one empire. Otto von Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor, was the mastermind behind Germany's unification, using diplomacy, war, and sheer force of will to forge a new European power. But was he a genius strategist or a ruthless authoritarian, a visionary leader or a builder of future conflicts? From the battlefields of Europe to the corridors of power in Berlin, Bismarck's legacy is one of ambition, cunning, and controversy. In this video, we'll explore how he shaped Germany, influenced global politics, and left a mark that still echoes through history. Otto von Bismarck, Germany's Iron Chancellor. Was Bismarck the greatest German leader of all time? Let's find out. Chapter 1. The Fractured German Landscape. In the early 19th century, the German-speaking territories were a patchwork of over 30 independent states, each a sovereign entity with its own rulers, laws, and customs. This disjointed landscape was a reflection of the broader European political milieu, where nationalism was a burgeoning force, yet the dream of a unified Germany remained elusive. The fragmented nature of the German lands, with their diverse cultures and histories, created a complex tapestry of allegiances and rivalries that would significantly influence the course of German unification. At the heart of this fragmentation were two dominant powers, Prussia and Austria. Prussia, known for its formidable military and efficient administrative system, was rapidly emerging as a leading force within the German Confederation. Its disciplined army, bolstered by a culture of rigorous training and a focus on meritocracy, was a source of national pride and a symbol of its rising status. Under the leadership of King Frederick William III, Prussia sought to expand its influence, fostering a sense of national identity among its subjects while simultaneously eyeing the weaknesses of its rival. In contrast, Austria, the larger of the two powers, was characterized by its vast and diverse multi-ethnic empire, which included Hungarians, Czechs, Slovaks, and Italians, among others. The Habsburg monarchy, with its intricate web of dynastic ties and political maneuvering, was intent on maintaining its dominance over the German states. Austrian Chancellor Clemens von Metternich was a master of diplomacy, adept at using both coercion and persuasion to keep the smaller German states aligned with Vienna's interests. However, Austria's hold on German affairs was increasingly challenged, as the growing tide of nationalism began to resonate among the various German principalities. The balance of power in Europe was a precarious one, shifting like sand in an hourglass. France, with its revolutionary fervor and ambitions under leaders like Napoleon, was a constant threat to the stability of the established order. Britain, focused on its own imperial pursuits, often played the role of an outsider, yet its influence on trade and diplomacy could not be ignored. Russia, with its vast resources and autocratic rule, was another player in the intricate game of European politics, often seeking to expand its reach into Central Europe. Amidst this backdrop of tension and uncertainty, a pivotal figure was emerging, Otto von Bismarck. Born in 1815 in the small Prussian town of Skonhausen, Bismarck was shaped by the tumultuous events of his time. His early life was marked by a sense of duty and a deep understanding of the intricacies of power. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Bismarck possessed a keen awareness of the shifting tides of politics and the importance of pragmatism in achieving his goals. What set Bismarck apart from previous leaders was not just his ambitious vision for a unified Germany, but also his unorthodox approach to diplomacy and warfare. He believed in the principle of realpolitik, a pragmatic politics that prioritized the practical over the idealistic. Bismarck was willing to engage in manipulation and deception if it meant furthering his aims. This willingness to wield power strategically would later define his policies and actions on the European stage. As tensions mounted and the specter of war loomed, Bismarck's political acumen and strategic foresight would soon come to the fore. The stage was set for a dramatic transformation of the German landscape, one that would be marked by conflict, alliances, and ultimately, the birth of a nation. But how exactly would Bismarck navigate this fractured landscape to achieve his vision of a unified Germany? The answers lay in the intricate dance of diplomacy, the art of war, and the relentless pursuit of power that defined his remarkable career. Chapter 2. The Rise of a Political Genius. Otto von Bismarck was born on April 1, 1815, into the privileged world of the Prussian aristocracy, specifically the Junker class, which was known for its landowning and military traditions. His family instilled in him a deep reverence for conservative values, loyalty to the monarchy, and a profound sense of duty to his nation. His upbringing in the tranquil countryside of Skanhausen offered a stark contrast to the burgeoning political turmoil sweeping across Europe, yet it laid the foundation for his future ambitions. After completing his studies in law at the University of Göttingen and the University of Berlin, Bismarck initially pursued a career in the civil service. However, he soon discovered his true calling lay in politics. In the early 1840s, he entered the political arena, quickly establishing himself as a formidable force. His sharp wit, eloquence, and unyielding opposition to liberal reforms earned him both admirers and enemies. Bismarck viewed the liberal movements of the time, which sought to curtail monarchical power and expand individual rights, as direct threats to the stability and unity of the German states. The political landscape shifted dramatically during the revolutions of 1848, a series of uprisings that swept across Europe fueled by demands for democratic reforms and national unification. In Prussia, these revolts ignited passionate debates about governance and the role of the monarchy. While many of his contemporaries were caught up in the fervor of the revolution, Bismarck remained steadfast in his defense of the Prussian monarchy. He argued that a strong, centralized authority was essential for maintaining order and preventing chaos. His eloquent speeches and unwavering loyalty to King Friedrich Wilhelm won him the trust and favor of the royal court, particularly that of the future King Wilhelm I. By the 1850s, Bismarck had ascended to a prominent position in Prussian diplomacy. He served as ambassador to both Russia and France, where he honed his skills in negotiation and statecraft. His time in these pivotal nations exposed him to the intricacies of European power dynamics and the importance of alliances. Bismarck's experiences abroad deepened his understanding of international relations and the delicate balance of power that governed the continent. He observed the strengths and weaknesses of rival states, drawing lessons that would shape his future strategies. In 1862, Bismarck's political journey reached a critical juncture when King Wilhelm I appointed him as Minister-President of Prussia. This appointment came during a tumultuous constitutional crisis over military reforms that pitted the monarchy against a liberal parliament demanding greater control over military expenditures. Bismarck's ascension to this powerful position was not without controversy. He was seen by many as a radical figure willing to challenge the established order. Emboldened by his loyalty to the king and a burning desire to strengthen Prussia, Bismarck adopted a confrontational stance against the parliament. He famously declared, "Not by speeches and majority votes are the great questions of the time decided. That was the mistake of 1848, but by iron and blood." This phrase, encapsulating his philosophy of blood and iron, would become the rallying cry for his approach to unification. Bismarck believed that true political change could not be achieved through debate and compromise. It required decisive action, military might, and the willingness to confront adversaries head-on. Under Bismarck's leadership, the Prussian government began to implement sweeping military reforms, increasing the size and efficiency of the army. While he faced significant opposition from liberal factions in the parliament, Bismarck skillfully maneuvered through the political landscape, using his persuasive abilities and strategic alliances to push through his agenda. He recognized that the strength of the military was paramount, not only for national defense, but also as a means of asserting Prussia's dominance in the fragmented German landscape. Bismarck's unyielding vision, marked by a blend of pragmatism and bold ambition, set the stage for the impending transformation of the German states. His ability to navigate political crises, coupled with his deep understanding of international relations, positioned him as a key architect of German unification. As tensions simmered and the specter of conflict loomed, Bismarck was prepared to take bold steps that would ultimately reshape the future of Germany and alter the course of European history. The stage was set for a series of confrontations that would test his resolve and define his legacy as one of the greatest statesmen of his time. The zenith of Bismarck's ambitions arrived on January 18, 1871, in the opulent Hall of Mirrors at the Palace of Versailles. It was there, amid the grandeur of the former seat of French kings, that the German Empire was proclaimed. The ceremony marked not just the unification of Germany, but also the culmination of Bismarck's relentless pursuit of power and influence. As the newly crowned Kaiser Wilhelm I of Germany accepted the imperial crown, a profound silence enveloped the assembly, broken only by the sounds of triumphant cheers from the assembled dignitaries and soldiers. The proclamation of the German Empire was a moment of immense national pride, symbolizing the triumph of German nationalism and the effectiveness of Bismarck's Realpolitik. The irony of the location, a site of French grandeur, was not lost on the Germans. They had turned a symbol of French dominance into one of their own. Bismarck's success in unifying Germany was the result of his strategic brilliance, but it also reflected the shifting tides of nationalism and militarism that characterized the era. The wars he orchestrated not only eliminated rival powers, but also fostered a deep sense of unity among the various German states, many of which had previously viewed each other with suspicion or hostility. The common cause against external enemies had transformed erstwhile competitors into allies, forging a new national identity. However, with the establishment of the German Empire, Bismarck faced a new set of challenges. The very nationalism that had fueled the unification process could also threaten his carefully constructed order. The diverse array of states that comprised the new empire, each with its own regional loyalties and political aspirations, presented significant governance challenges. Bismarck understood that while he had succeeded in unifying Germany, maintaining that unity would require a delicate balance of power between various factions. To solidify his control and prevent internal dissent, Bismarck pursued a series of domestic policies aimed at integrating the German states under Prussian leadership while simultaneously managing the aspirations of other political groups. He introduced legislation that sought to unify the legal systems and administrative structures across the empire, promoting a sense of coherence and shared governance. Moreover, Bismarck recognized the importance of addressing the rising tide of socialism and the labor movement, which had emerged as formidable forces in German society. In response, he implemented a series of social reforms, including health insurance, accident insurance, and pensions, aimed at appeasing the working class and undermining the appeal of socialist ideologies. This was a tactical move, showcasing Bismarck's ability to adapt his strategies to the changing political landscape. Bismarck also understood the need for a stable foreign policy that would secure Germany's position on the European stage. He sought to isolate France diplomatically while maintaining cordial relations with other powers, such as Russia and Austria. His intricate web of alliances and treaties, including the reinsurance treaty with Russia, was designed to prevent a two-front war and to ensure Germany's security. Yet, beneath the veneer of stability lay the potential for conflict and discord. Bismarck's aggressive foreign policies and the empire's growing military might stir unease among other European nations. As the newly unified Germany emerged as a dominant force, rivalries began to resurface, and the delicate balance of power that Bismarck had worked so hard to establish became increasingly precarious. In the years following the unification, Bismarck would navigate these challenges with the same shrewdness that had propelled him to power. However, the complexities of governing a unified Germany would test his political acumen and reveal the limits of his Realpolitik philosophy. The legacy of Bismarck's wars of unification would resonate throughout Europe, setting the stage for future conflicts and shaping the course of German and European history for generations to come. As Bismarck stood at the helm of the newly established German Empire, he was acutely aware that his greatest challenges lay ahead. The empire's unity, forged through war and nationalism, would require constant vigilance and adaptability if it were to endure. The ambitious architect of German unification had achieved what countless rulers before him had failed to accomplish, but in doing so, he had also unleashed forces that would ultimately test the very foundations of the empire he had built. Chapter 4. The Iron Chancellor. As Chancellor of the newly formed German Empire, Otto von Bismarck found himself at the helm of a nation that was both triumphant and tumultuous. The unification of Germany had been a monumental achievement, yet the task of governing a diverse federation of states, each with its own unique cultural, religious, and political identities, presented an entirely new set of challenges. Bismarck's approach to governance was characterized by a blend of pragmatism and authoritarianism, reflecting his belief that strong leadership was essential to maintain order and cohesion in the nascent empire. The Kulturkampf, culture struggle. One of Bismarck's most controversial initiatives as Chancellor was the Kulturkampf, or culture struggle, which aimed to diminish the influence of the Catholic Church in German society. Bismarck was acutely aware of the potential for the Church's loyalty to the Vatican to conflict with the interests of the German state. With a significant Catholic population concentrated in the southern German states, he feared that the Church could undermine national unity and loyalty to the newly established empire. Beginning in the early 1870s, Bismarck implemented a series of aggressive measures targeting the Catholic Church. He expelled the Jesuits from Germany, citing their perceived allegiance to foreign powers and their secretive influence on education and politics. Bismarck also sought to control the appointment of clergy, insisting that the state have a say in the training and selection of priests. He enacted laws that restricted religious education and imposed state oversight on ecclesiastical matters, aiming to reduce the Church's power over its congregations. The Kulturkampf, however, sparked a significant backlash from the Catholic community, who viewed Bismarck's policies as a direct assault on their faith and autonomy. The opposition was fierce, with the Catholic Center Party emerging as a formidable political force, advocating for the rights of Catholics and resisting Bismarck's encroachments. By the late 1870s, Bismarck recognized the futility of his campaign against the Church. The growing resentment among Catholics and the political ramifications forced him to soften his stance, ultimately seeking a compromise that allowed for greater autonomy for the Church while retaining some state control. Social welfare reforms. In a bid to counter the rising tide of socialism and to win the loyalty of the burgeoning working class, Bismarck pioneered groundbreaking social welfare programs that would become a hallmark of his legacy. Recognizing that the Industrial Revolution had transformed German society, leading to the emergence of a disenfranchised urban working class, he sought to address their grievances through state-sponsored initiatives. Beginning in the 1880s, Bismarck introduced a series of innovative social reforms, including health insurance, accident insurance, and old age pensions. These measures were revolutionary for their time, establishing a safety net for workers and their families. The health insurance scheme provided medical care and financial support for those unable to work due to illness, while accident insurance offered compensation for injuries sustained on the job. The old age pensions program assured that workers would not face destitution in their later years. These welfare programs not only helped alleviate the hardships faced by the working class, but also served a dual purpose. They aimed to undermine the appeal of socialist movements that sought to challenge the established order. By addressing the social and economic needs of workers, Bismarck sought to reinforce their loyalty to the state and diminish the influence of radical ideologies. His social welfare reforms positioned Germany as a pioneer in social policy, setting a precedent that would inspire similar initiatives across Europe. Diplomatic mastery. Bismarck's prowess extended beyond domestic policy. He was a master of diplomacy, skillfully navigating the complex web of European politics to secure Germany's position on the continent. His primary objective was to isolate France, which he viewed as a potential threat to the stability of the newly unified Germany. To achieve this, Bismarck orchestrated a series of alliances designed to maintain a delicate balance of power. One of his significant diplomatic achievements was the formation of the League of the Three Emperors in 1873, an alliance between Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Russia. This coalition aimed to maintain peace and stability in Europe while countering the influence of France. Bismarck's diplomatic acumen allowed him to navigate the competing interests of these empires, leveraging their relationships to bolster Germany's security. In 1882, Bismarck solidified his alliances further by forming the Triple Alliance with Austria-Hungary and Italy. This pact served as a counterbalance to the growing power of France and ensured that Germany had reliable allies in case of conflict. Bismarck's meticulous planning and strategic foresight kept Germany secure for decades, fostering a sense of stability that encouraged economic growth and national pride. The downfall of the Iron Chancellor. Despite Bismarck's remarkable successes, the very characteristics that had propelled him to power would ultimately contribute. Chapter 5. The Fall and Legacy of Bismarck. The political landscape of Germany underwent a seismic shift in 1888 when Kaiser Wilhelm I passed away. The old monarch, who had ruled since the unification of Germany, was succeeded by his grandson, Wilhelm II. The new Kaiser was a man of ambition and vigor, eager to assert his authority and carve out his own legacy. However, This desire for independence would create a rift between him and Otto von Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor who had been the architect of German unification and the stabilizing force in European diplomacy. Wilhelm II, unlike his more cautious grandfather, was characterized by a fiery temperament and a belief in the divine right of kings. He viewed Bismarck's carefully constructed diplomatic framework as overly conservative and restrictive. The young Kaiser was determined to break free from the constraints of Bismarck's cautious policies, believing that Germany should adopt a more assertive and aggressive stance on the world stage. His desire for a place in the sun translated into a push for greater colonial ambitions and military expansion. As disagreements between Bismarck and Wilhelm II intensified, the relationship between the two leaders became increasingly strained. Bismarck, who had always been a pragmatist, found himself at odds with the Kaiser's impulsive decisions and grandiose vision for Germany. The clash of their political ideologies culminated in a dramatic confrontation in 1890. Wilhelm II, eager to establish his authority and rid himself of Bismarck's influence, ultimately forced the Chancellor to resign. Bismarck's departure marked a turning point in German and European history. Freed from the constraints of Bismarck's cautious diplomacy, Wilhelm II pursued a series of aggressive foreign policies that would destabilize the delicate balance of power in Europe. The Kaiser's dismissal of Bismarck's careful alliance system led to a rapid deterioration of relations with other nations, particularly Russia. The reinsurance treaty with Russia, which Bismarck had deftly negotiated to prevent a two-front war, was allowed to lapse, and the relationship between Germany and Russia soured. As tensions escalated across Europe, Wilhelm II's ambitions fueled an arms race and colonial rivalries, particularly with France and Britain. The aggressive pursuit of a strong navy, exemplified by the construction of the High Seas Fleet, was seen as a direct challenge to British naval supremacy. This shift in policy contributed to the growing sense of hostility and distrust among the major powers, setting the stage for the catastrophic conflicts that would erupt in the early 20th century. Many historians argue that the intricate alliance system Bismarck had meticulously crafted began to unravel after his resignation. The absence of his diplomatic expertise left a vacuum in European politics, one that would soon be filled by escalating nationalism and militarism. The tensions that arose during this period would ultimately culminate in World War I, reshaping not only Europe but the world as a whole. Despite his retirement, Bismarck remained a formidable figure in German politics. His presence loomed large over the political landscape, and he continued to engage with the issues of the day through his writings and public statements. Bismarck's memoirs, published in the years following his resignation, offered sharp critiques of Wilhelm II's policies, reflecting his deep concern for the direction of the German Empire. He lamented the loss of the careful diplomacy that had characterized his tenure and warned of the dangers posed by the Kaiser's recklessness. Bismarck's legacy extended far beyond his time in office. He had not only unified Germany but also laid the groundwork for its role in international politics. His pioneering social welfare reforms continued to influence German policy, shaping the relationship between the state and its citizens for decades to come. Bismarck's ideas about realpolitik and strategic diplomacy remained relevant in the evolving landscape of European politics, serving as a reference point for future leaders. As the 20th century unfolded, the world witnessed the profound impact of Bismarck's policies and the consequences of his departure. His vision for a unified Germany had transformed the political landscape of Europe, but the aggressive policies of Wilhelm II ultimately led to a period of unprecedented conflict. Bismarck's fall and the subsequent turmoil of his successors would set the stage for the cataclysms of the Great War, altering the course of history and leaving a complex legacy that would be debated by historians for generations. In the end, Bismarck's life and career symbolized the tensions between ambition and caution, power and responsibility. His story serves as a cautionary tale of how the very forces that can forge unity can also lead to division and conflict, a lesson that resonates through the annals of history and continues to shape political thought in the modern world. Was Otto von Bismarck the most important German leader? Otto von Bismarck, often called the Iron Chancellor, was a statesman whose impact on Germany and European politics was profound and far-reaching. Rising to prominence in the mid-19th century, Bismarck played a decisive role in shaping the modern German state. His diplomatic prowess, strategic use of war, and pioneering social policies cemented his place in history, but does this make him the most important German leader of all time? Bismarck's achievements. Bismarck's most celebrated accomplishment was the unification of Germany in 1871. Before his rise, the German lands were a fragmented collection of independent states, loosely connected through the German Confederation. As Prime Minister of Prussia, Bismarck orchestrated a series of conflicts: the Danish War, 1864, the Austro-Prussian War, 1866, and the Franco-Prussian War, 1870 to 1871, each carefully designed to isolate rivals and rally German nationalism under Prussian dominance. With the defeat of France in 1871, the German Empire was proclaimed, with King Wilhelm I of Prussia becoming the German emperor. Bismarck's skillful diplomacy and strategic maneuvering were instrumental in this historic transformation. Beyond unification, Bismarck laid the foundation for Germany's political and social structure. Domestically, he implemented pioneering social welfare programs, including health insurance, accident insurance, and old age pensions, policies that influenced the development of the modern welfare state. He also maintained a delicate balance of power through his diplomacy, famously promoting a system of alliances that kept Germany secure while preventing war in Europe. The drawbacks of Bismarck's leadership. Despite his successes, Bismarck's leadership had its flaws. His emphasis on realpolitik, a pragmatic and often ruthless approach to politics, created an authoritarian state that suppressed dissent. He waged a Kulturkampf, culture struggle, against the Catholic Church, attempting to curb its influence, and he used repressive measures to stifle socialist movements. His ability to maintain peace in Europe relied heavily on his personal diplomatic genius, and after his dismissal in 1890 by Kaiser Wilhelm II, his carefully constructed alliances unraveled, contributing to the tensions that led to World War I. Moreover, Bismarck's use of militarism and aggressive diplomacy set a precedent that later German leaders would follow, sometimes with disastrous consequences. While he sought to preserve stability through diplomacy after unification, the militaristic foundation of the German Empire contributed to an arms race and a culture of conflict that persisted into the 20th century. Comparing Bismarck to other German leaders. To determine whether Bismarck was Germany's most important leader, one must consider other influential figures. Adolf Hitler, though infamous for leading Germany into catastrophe, undeniably reshaped the nation and the world through World War II and the Holocaust. Konrad Adenauer, post-World War II Chancellor, played a crucial role in rebuilding Germany, fostering democracy, and integrating the country into the Western Alliance. Angela Merkel, the first female chancellor, led Germany through economic crises and strengthened its position as a global leader in the 21st century. While these figures had significant impacts, Bismarck's role in creating Germany as a unified state is unmatched. Without his vision and political skill, the Germany of today might not exist in its current form. His policies set the trajectory for the nation's future, for better or worse. Conclusion. Was Bismarck the most important German leader? Bismarck's achievements were undeniably transformative. He unified Germany, crafted a sophisticated diplomatic network, and implemented social policies that influenced modern governance. However, his reliance on militarism and authoritarian rule also sowed the seeds for future conflicts. While other German leaders have had profound impacts, Bismarck's role as the architect of Germany's unification and his long-lasting influence on European politics make a strong case for his title as Germany's most important leader. What do you think? Does Bismarck deserve this distinction? Or is there another figure who surpasses him in importance? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the life of Otto von Bismarck. See you in the next documentary. Please like, comment, and consider subscribing to Cyber Theo.